Hello everybody, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry. Today we are looking at an Italian destroyer. And we are looking at this because A, I haven't yet, and B, because the camouflage that is on the ship has two sort of features that make me want to look at it. First, it doesn't look completely idiotic. And second, it's available in the shipyard so for resources. So I figured this is a good time, and somebody pointed it out in the comments, I think, so thank you for that hint, to look at the Tier 9 Italian tech tree destroyer, the Adriatico. This is this wasn't a ship that really existed, but if you think that if you had looked at the ship before and thought this looks suspiciously Soviet, that's probably because the Italians were the ones designing the Tashkent, because the Soviets were rather unhappy with the Leningrads and did try to ask around. The French said, nope, sod off, we're not doing that. And the Italians didn't really have a problem with that, so they designed the Tashkent, which was meant, her and her sisters were meant to be built in Soviet shipyards, but the sisters, I think Tashkent herself was built in Italy, but it turned out the whole process and everything wasn't really compatible because how the Soviets approached things and how the Italians approached things. Yes, I know. So in the end, I think they cancelled most of the sister ships and then proceeded to building their own design anyway. But this is the, I think, this is the, what if the Italians had looked at it and said, you know what, actually that wasn't terrible, and built a couple more of them. And that is how we got the Adriatico. So, how does she compare to her predecessor, the Vittorio Cuniberti? Let's see how these two compare. The first thing that stands out, well, the second thing that stands out is that you get an additional one of these emergency engine boosts. The first thing that stands out is that the Adriatico gets a reload booster on the guns. And that is a very welcome change. Because, and we'll see in a minute, because the guns are different. First of all, we get a bunch more hit points, which is really nice. And we are losing a little bit in terms of maneuverability, but not in terms of speed. The guns are 135mm guns. These, I think, are secondary guns from Andrea Doria? I might be mistaken. But they're definitely, I think they were around as battleship secondary guns. And these are here used as 135mm main guns, an uptick from the 120s that we had on the Cuniberti. Which means they fire faster, they have, well, I'm very careful of using the term more range. They have less range. How about that? And but they do more damage, and they have a higher fire chance. Now, despite the as you will see, actually we don't see the ship's specialty thing here, but they do fire semi-armor piercing. So do not use at long range. I was about to say don't use it against battleships at long range, but then I realized you can't use them at battleships at long range. You can't use them against anything at long range because they don't have any long range. So yeah, semi-armor piercing is pretty good at close range against battleships, as we shall see. And obviously you have a 5-second base reload and you have a reload booster, which is fun. The torpedoes are actually not terrible. I mean, they're for intents and purposes the same as on the previous one. You get 2 quad launchers, they're center mounted. You do a bit more damage, but you pay for it with 3-second more reload. You're slightly faster and slightly better flooding chance. For intents and purposes, it's the same torpedoes. These are not terrible torpedoes. They you can still stealth torp with a 10-kilometer range pretty comfortably, and they reload quickly enough that you can spam them out without too much of a worry, unlike say Japanese destroyers where you have to make them count. The AA is as usual absent, and the concealment is terrible, which isn't stopping me from using a concealment build, but just for the hello there sort of effect, and because Semi-armor piercing, 135mm semi-armor piercing with active rapid reload can seriously ruin the day of any destroyer that comes around the corner. How does she compare to the premium, to the YOLO Emilio? Which I am going to try. I know they've buffed her. I am going to try, but I'm not going to try that until the turret bug's fixed. Obviously, you do have the short duration emergency engine boost thingy, plus the short duration emergency smoke thingy, and you've got the gun reload. It tells here, right? It says here that she gets to use SAP semi-armor piercing shells, but it doesn't tell on the tech tree ones, which is quite weird. So don't let that confuse you. The Emilio is still worse in terms of, it is faster, obviously, needs to be, worse in terms of concealment. But comparing the guns, these are the same guns. Only that on the YOLO you get 8 of them with an 8-second reload and no rapid reload. And on the Adriatico you get 6 of them, but with 5-second reload and with a reload booster. So I would say in terms of DPS, you're probably way better off with this thing than with the Emilio. But then again, the Emilio is all about the torpedoes, which obviously have the extreme short range, but hit really, really hard. So that's that. But yeah, that is the Adriatico. So let's go and look at this camouflage, which I believe is in the shipyard. I have a very quick look. Where is it? Yeah, there. It's the hot wind camouflage. Someone's been eating too many beans, is it? Spicy beans. The spicy beans camouflage, let's call it that. And it gives you 2 camos, one for the tier 9, and I believe the other one's probably for tier 10. Yeah. So what's the difference between that camo? Let's go back in here. What's the difference between that camo and the historical camo? Well, that camo, besides of looking actually pretty snappy, I mean, I know it's not historical, but it doesn't look completely idiotic. And that for me is a win when it comes to alternate camouflages. It could have been a fish. Well, a dolphin. We get range on the main batteries, which is good because we don't have any. So now we have even less range. We get torpedo speed, which is kind of nice. We get traverse speed, which is also nice. And we get surface detection. Compared to the historical, which gives us torpedo range. So honestly, I like torpedo speed over torpedo range. And honestly, the historical camo looks more derpy than this thing. What's up with the yellow turrets? Are you sure, Wargaming, that this is how the Italians historically camouflage their ships? With bright yellow tips and highlighted turrets for maximum contrast against the blue water and the blue sky. Are you sure? Anyway, so that camo is actually prettier in my opinion, and that's a rare thing to say. And I think the torpedo speed is also better. So that's the thing. Then again, it's a tier 9 ship. Why would you want to keep the tier 9 ship if you can get the tier 10 ship? Well, I don't know. That's up to you. Equipment, main battery mode 2, obviously, because while we don't have any range on the guns, when we are in range, these guns are fun because higher fire chance, more damage output, and rapid reload. Which explains the concealment system, even though the base concealment is pretty terrible, but it does allow you to more comfortably get closer to enemy destroyers and make their life very, very difficult, because you do have the short range, the short duration fuel smoke, and you do have the short duration emergency engine boost. Even though you don't have something like a sonar, it still means that you can unleash a absolute smacking of pain with the semi-armor piercing at close ranges if you can manage to ambush enemy destroyers. And you have the means to get yourself out of it again once the rapid reload's out. And you need to go away because the guns are forward oriented. So just like on the Tashkent, you actually got more guns forward, which makes kiting away a little difficult. Which also means that with 4% fire chance, you could go and bow in HE spam, but it's a bit more risky because you have to get relatively close to do it. Anyway, that's why I've got the concealment. Otherwise, the propulsion mod would be probably a reasonable choice here as well. I'm not feeling the steering gear too much. I don't feel like that's a really big issue, but it's a destroyer leader, right? Just like the Tashkent, and as such, it's not quite a scout cruiser, but kind of a little bit in that direction at times. Commander-wise, there's not an awful lot to say. You kind of do want the engine overload, not for the duration, but for the cooldown, because you've got 6 charges of that thing. And you still get the 33% skill cooldown, and the same goes with the Mistweaver. Doesn't matter with the duration, because it's a really short duration, so don't sit around there in that smoke. It's a super short duration fuel smoke. Just use it to cover yourself in times of need. like when you had too many spicy beans. and it's good for the cooldown. Other than that, it's pretty much a relatively standard setup. Obviously, do not take the APCS because you don't have any armor-piercing shells. The IFHE is not going to do you an awful lot of good. So unless you have a legendary captain like I think Sansonetti has that skill. Yeah, so here you get the penetration on both the semi-armor piercing and the high explosive. Unfortunately, you don't get that on the non-legendary captains, which is really a shame, but it is what it is. Anyway, so that in all gets us to an 8-second time to full speed, which is okay-ish, and a workable turn time, an okay traverse speed, but a 38-second base speed, and with the emergency boost and preheating, you can get up, I think, almost to 50 knots with this thing. So the positively French levels of speed. 4.6-second base reload on the guns. But short range. And yeah, torpedoes 10-kilometer range, and a surface detection of 5.93, which isn't great, but is workable. So you can still outspot most cruisers. Anyway, tier 9. Let's see her in action. In the first game, we are top tier, and I think actually, yeah, no, there's an Ibuki on our team. Okay, but not many tier 9s in the game. Epicenter, Pacific Islands against Freddy, Bismarck, Cleveland, Takao, Benson, and yeah, that's it. Actually, it's a 5v5. The rest is bots. So, how do you play the ship? For me, these are fun ships. These are not necessarily competitive ships, as in they are the most powerful destroyers out there, but they're hitting really the sweet spot between the kind of scout cruiser play and actual destroyer play, where you can zip around and just have fun in these things. Anyway, emergency engine boost up, 48 knots, go. And we are probably going to drop some torpedoes in the general direction of that center cup, if it makes sense. And once we are in range. But yeah, we are a fast ship, and we're going to use that to our advantage. And obviously the rapid reloads are nice and fun. So drop some torpedoes in that general direction. And then we'll see what comes around the corner here. But it looks like the enemy team is... Nope, there's something in the middle ring. And let's see if they are also going center. Just keep in mind, you don't have a sonar or radar or anything, so don't sit on broadside to enemy destroyers. And there's also the Takao. It's the bot. Yeah, it's the bot Benson. Well, it's the actual Benson as well. So a couple of shots out, but Benson smokes up. So it's entirely possible that he might rush me. There come some torpedoes. These might be Benson torps. And what was it? No, I don't think that was Takao. So I'm not gonna go and rush in there. I'm just gonna keep the island between myself and that Benson until his smoke runs out, and then we can go and deal with him if we need to. But there's also a Wichita, which is a bot, but don't underestimate these things. So I'm going to engine boost through here, just in case the Benson has paying attention, dropping some torpedoes. And I'm sending some... No, it's all good. Wichita, I think, is not dead, actually. Why has it not died? Okay, there it goes. Cargo has taken him out. Thank you. Which means we can now make ourselves useful on trying to set the Friedrich der Große on fire. Also because there are already two cruisers in the center cup, which means that they can deal with the enemy Benson if they need to. There is, however, a Cleveland out there, so we do have to be careful. The cargo is making himself a target for the Freddy, but who has damage control. So I am really fishing for another fire here, but it doesn't seem to be coming. I do need, however, to turn away because, well, there's Cleveland, and once he realizes that I'm here, let's drop some torpedoes in the general direction of these two. And yeah, this is where the who put that island over there? This is where the lack of range really starts hurting you, because you can't really gunboat at long ranges because you don't have any long ranges. But somebody might sail into a torpedo or two, and anyway, it's an HE Cleveland, so it's not a big threat. Bismarck's in range, and it looks like, yeah, the Freddy has dodged the torpedoes. Well, let's try to set the Freddy on fire again, while making ourselves a little scarce because we are running a bit close here to the Cleveland, and even a blind chicken eventually finds a grain, or however you say that in English. Our torpedoes are already reloaded. See, this is what I mean. You don't have to be particularly conservative with them, because you can just donk them out again. So rapid reload up once more. See if we can set the Freddy on fire. Freddy goes undetected because I was apparently the one spotting him. Well, that's fine. I know where he is, and it's a Freddy. I mean, it's got its own postcode. Ow. Was that Takao? It could have been Takao. I'm thinking at this point I might have to. Oh, hello, Mr. Benson. I didn't see you there. Okay, yep. I need to smoke and speed boost and out of here. Okay, that's some torpedo hits on the Freddy, presumably. Have you people still not dealt with that Benson? Okay, so he might know that he sees me. He knows that I'm coming around the other side. So I'm not gonna rush out there because there might be torpedoes in the water. I'm just gonna sit here, and I'm now undetected, so Benson no longer knows that I'm coming out there. So let's see if we can. Yep, there come some torpedoes. These were long range. These were not Benson torps. I am now spotted again. Are you coming out? Are you not coming out? I'll decide. Make up your mind. Who do I have with me here? An Edinburgh. Edinburgh is pretty good against destroyers. So, well, since nobody wants to deal with the Benson at the other side of that island, I'll do it myself then. All right then. Off we go. Smoke up so he doesn't see me. Heal up in case he torpedoes the smoke. Bow in. Hello, Mr. Benson. Surprise! Surprise! And from this angle, he's not going to get any torpedoes away, so that is a very dead Benson. And that leaves a Takao over there. Now, normally in a destroyer, Takao is somewhat dangerous, but I don't have the range, really. But I can use the high explosive. Now, I could use the semi-armor piercing, actually, with the 130s, but I can use the high explosive to burn down the Takao. Why am I burning down the Takao? To add insult to injury, that's why. And yeah, he is obviously launching torpedoes, so yeah, that's why I wasn't pushing any further. And now we're just, gently dodging his shells and trying to burn him to the ground while he's shooting armor piercing at me, which is not a bad choice, by the way. The armor piercing on the Japanese heavy cruisers does not have an awful lot of penetration, so against destroyers that is relatively dangerous. But then again, here comes the Tashkent setup, where you have 2 gun turrets forward, which means you can just bounce around like this, bow in, and even a cruiser is gonna struggle to really do anything. And that's double perma fire. And now he switched to the high explosive. He probably wants to set me on fire as well. I don't know, but he's not very dead. So let's see what's left of the enemy team. Not an awful lot. We're holding all 3 capture circles. There's one battleship that is exploring the map border, chasing one of our destroyers, and the Cleveland has just died, so that is pretty much the end of the round. But oh, well, where did these torpedoes come from? Whew. I didn't think I was going to take that, but I did take that. Okay. This must have been Takao torpedoes that he launched this in the... Like he probably didn't even launch these at me, but launched these at the Edinburgh next to me here. Anyway, battle is over and fun was had. We did not come at top of the team. The cargo managed to do that, probably after blapping the bot out of the water early on, and doing a couple more cargo things of just torpedoing everybody. But we did come in second in the team, so. Still good enough, and we've done some fire damage against the Takao. In the second round, we have an almost complete tier 9 setup, actually. And we are fighting Audacious, Prince Ruprecht, Minnesota, another Prince Ruprecht, Iowa Tone, and Akita Kaze. All right, off we go. Generally, you'd be afraid of Akita Kaze. Not supremely so, because the semi-armor piercing hits really, really hard with the 135s, and with the rapid reload, yeah, you can make something happen. Plus, I do have the smoke and boost to get out when things get hairy. Anyway, carrier battle, so we do have to be a little bit more careful and see where the carrier goes scouting. I'm spawning left flank, so full speed ahead, and when I said damn the torpedoes, but in this case, just boost away and see that we get out of scouting range of the enemy planes to make sure that the enemy team doesn't necessarily see me coming. Although there are some fighters. No, the fighters are actually being dragged into the center. Good, good. So we don't have to deal with those guys, and we might be able to get away with that unscouted. And then we'll just see what comes around the corner there. Generally, something comes around that corner, because obviously the enemy team spawns the same way. So the 3 ships on the enemy side. Oh, I think I know where the carrier is. Carrier has moved. So it's interesting that he moves down this flank without even scouting it. That is a relatively daring move, but then again, there's only one destroyer. Okay, and he does have some support. There's the Akita Kaze, and there is the Prinz Ruprecht. Now, where is that Prinz Ruprecht going? None of these guys know yet that I'm here. So I can take my time figuring out where I want to go and what I want to do. But there are 2 battleships coming down here. Prinz Ruprecht's in the turn, so let's drop some torpedoes in his general direction. Switch over to the high explosive and see if we can. He's not even looking my way. So let's see if we can get a fire set. And I think he is. Yep. Okay. So he's taking the flood. He's probably going to Damacon that, or not. Okay. Sure. You do you. You do you. Perma flood. Can we get perma fire? See, this is where kiting is actually a little uncomfortable in the ship because of the turret placement. You're actually better off being bow in and in reverse. But okay, that Prinz Ruprecht is probably very dead, which leaves that Minnesota over there. And yeah, do I need to deal with the Prinz Ruprecht, or you got this? I mean, he's just completely YOLOing, right? Yeah, I think he should be alright. I don't think he's gonna get anywhere. I'm unspotted. Oh, that's what he was doing. Oh, so he was paying attention. He just dropped some torpedoes in my general direction. Yeah, not gonna happen, buddy. Okay, Minnesota, what are you doing now? You know that I'm out here, right? I can see you. You know you're spotted. The carrier isn't scouting, which means I can probably spend a little time looking at where you are going. I think you're being brave. Okay, have some torpedoes. Here you go. And then we will see what he is looking at. Turrets pointing the other way. Good, good. Let's start opening up at the Minnesota. That's 1 fire. Damacon, come on. Yep, Damacon. So now it's the 10-second count until up, and he shoots at me. Okay, engine boost up, and yep, that does nothing. Flood. No flood. Oh, that's a disappointment. Anyway, single fire Damacon. I can deal with that. And let's rush the Minnesota, because my torpedoes are already back up in 17 seconds. And it's time to go. Leroy Jenkins on your big battleship, bud. And yeah, that was a mistake. So we'll just time the main guns. There they come. Smoke up. And my torpedoes are reloaded. You're on perma fire. Donk donk. And we'll just casually sail around you while the secondaries are... I mean, the secondaries are probably the most dangerous thing at this point, because I don't even think he can truck his main guns at me. But regardless, we're going to make ourselves scarce and watch him flood out. Yeah, and he's not dead yet. That means the enemy Audacious is now a lot less audacious, because he just lost both of his battleships and that were going down, and the Akita Kaze seems to be dead as well. So now we've got a bit of time, while there's not an awful lot for us to shoot at anymore, while we are sailing towards the enemy capture circle. So this ship, is this a good ship? I absolutely love this ship. It's probably not meta, and it probably won't necessarily set damage records, but the sheer fun of playing this thing, and it's a tier 9 destroyer, the sheer fun of playing this thing, of just zooming around recklessly and having fun. That's sort of, and this feels like a very Italian cliche, if I may say so. So this is like the Ferrari of destroyers. It's probably not good for your everyday needs, but by gosh, it's fun and it's fast and it just sails around and does things. And I don't know, I just enjoy these ships in general. And these moments, there are these special moments that you have in these ships where you can just do things, do absolutely outrageous things, like that Iowa over there, who is completely not looking my way, and the Audacious has ignored me. Hello, Mr. Iowa. Yeah, I know you dodged my torpedoes. Looky, look, I have guns, and if you use the semi-armor piercing at this range to the bow section, you're actually going to do a decent amount of damage. So let's see if we can get the Iowa killed. Yep, that's an ex-Iowa. And now we can just come out and wait for the Audacious is running away. So yeah, I like this ship, and not necessarily because it is the strongest destroyer or the best destroyer or whatever, but the short gun range actually forces you to take more risks, and that's more fun, right? If you let's say you're playing a Soviet destroyer, you can play at max range, and you can just HE spam, and that's probably how you should play them. But at the same time, that's pretty much also all you can do, because the torpedo range is relatively short. It's not that you can't have fun in Soviet gunboats. I'm not saying that. I love my Kitakaze at tier 9, just for the sheer mayhem of fires that you can set. But this thing is versatile in that it can zoom around the map and just do crazy stunts left, right, and center. And for me, that's just a really, really enjoyable gameplay that you can have in these things. So I might be very tempted to actually grind the Italian destroyer line as well, and see where I end up with. I do currently have Sansonetti on my personal account on the Italian cruisers, which I haven't been managing to finish yet. But I'm almost tempted to put him on a destroyer. I will have to double check his skill set, but yeah. Anyway, very, very fun ship, and I'm gonna have to try the tier 10 as well to see if that holds up, because you still get. You know, if you're sailing around doing crazy stuff, obviously, if the enemy team pays attention and doesn't give you opportunities, then they can make your life very, very short. Like, let's say, for example, if that carrier had paid any attention whatsoever to the only destroyer on the enemy team, that could have been a very different game. But you can have fun games in these things. So that's that. And that's it for me today. Thanks, everybody, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.